Hey, casual crypto investor family. It is the casual crypto investor, and I am back with another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about a statement that Eric Trump said. If you don't know who Eric Trump, obviously is the son of our president, Donald Trump, here in the States. And obviously, as you may or may not know already, but he is very, very bullish on crypto. He talks about his experience, about how his family was being debanked during Trump's political run, I believe during his first political run for presidency. And, obviously he's a big advocate for crypto. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the leaders on the World Liberty Finance front, which is the Trump, organization's cryptocurrency. And then obviously you have Trump coin and all this kind of stuff. He's a really big pro crypto person and investor and entrepreneur. And when I came across this article, it made me want to look back and to see the history of rate cuts and the effects on crypto, and especially, obviously, Bitcoin kind of pulls along the whole entire market. So we're going to dive into that. But before we do, let's take a look at the overall crypto market. We are up almost 1%, sitting still above a $4 trillion market cap, which is great to see. October is definitely continuing to have its way, and absolutely love it. And in my personal opinion, I think that over the next 90 to 120 days or so, we should see some good moves here and some good positive direction in regards to crypto, at least in my opinion, especially if the whole rate cut trend continues. So as we look at Bitcoin had an all-time high of 125,000, which is absolutely insane. Right now it's at 123,000. It's up almost 10% over the past 7 days. Ethereum still holding tough, just over $4,500 right now. XRP is under $3. I bought a little bit XRP this weekend. It was under $3, so I jumped in on that. I'm probably going to continue to buy if it does continue to stay below $3. But hey, I'm in here for the long haul, and so I definitely think XRP, especially once we get the exposure to ETFs, I think that'll definitely be helpful, as well as obviously getting the Clarity Act. But right now we have a government shutdown that's happening. So none of these, I think all of these things might get pushed back a little, which could prolong, XRP's projection in regards to having more higher numbers, in my opinion, if these things get solidified, meaning the ETFs and the Clarity Act. But nevertheless, man, I feel like crypto season and altcoin season is pretty much here. I know we're not at technically alt season is when we're at about 75 or so. We're at 58 right now, but if these rate cuts continue month over month, I definitely think that this will help crypto tremendously. All right. Quick shameless plug. Make sure to follow me on X if you want to stay updated in what's happening in the crypto space, as well as what's happening in the overall crypto market. All right. So let's dive into it. So the first bit of news that I wanted to share with you, update. This came out roughly just under 24 hours ago. This is from Cointelegraph. There is now a 96.2% chance of rate cuts in October. I thought it was pretty funny. You got a jacked up Jerome Powell. Whoever did that is hilarious. Got a jacked up Jerome Powell down here because I guess they're about to turn on the money printers and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, when the rate cuts happen, you got to shift into assets that are gonna, again, not financial advice, but at least what I'm doing personally, I'm shifting into assets because when they turn on the money printer and the interest rates are going down, that means you are losing value. Your money is not as valuable as it once was. And so that's why it's critical that, at least in my opinion, again, not financial advice, but, you put your money into assets. So whether it be stocks, whether it be real estate, whether it be crypto, because putting it in a bank, you're going to be actually probably losing money versus gaining money. So, and I hate losing money. So, but this is interesting to see that there's a good chance of a 96.2% chance of rate cuts in October. All right. Next up too as well. And this is the article that I wanted to share with you. Eric Trump said it's on Yahoo Finance too as well. Eric Trump said a Fed rate cut could result in crypto skyrocketing, but the majority of the poly market bettors have a sobering view on crypto. All right, so let's dive into it. All right, it says right here, cryptocurrency bettors held back from the lofty Bitcoin projections despite the Federal Reserve quarter point rate cuts last week. Okay. So as of this writing, the odds of on the apex cryptocurrency exceeding 125,000 in September were only 5% on Polymarket, while the chances of it topping 130 were reduced to 1%. Can Bitcoin get to 130? I definitely think it could. It's going to be interesting. Most likely, I probably wouldn't see that happening until it's announced that the Fed is actually going to be cutting rates. But could it get to 130? I mean, shoot, why not? We've already just hit another all-time high, and they just cut rates last month. So we shall see what happens with that. Moving on, it says the odds of Bitcoin surpassing 120 were down to 14%, whereas the likelihood of the coin staying below 107 increased to 29%. All right, so let's dive into what Eric Trump has said. Eric Trump predicted otherwise. Interesting. Vocal cryptocurrency advocate and executive vice president of the Trump Organization, Eric Trump, stated in an interview last week that rate cuts would signify boost cryptocurrency prices. He says, and I quote, "I just think you would potentially see this thing skyrocket." Trump was quoted as by Yahoo Finance. Moving on here, it says that the Federal Reserve enacted a widely anticipated quarter point rate cut last week, but the impact of the cryptocurrency market has been anything positive since the rate cut. Bitcoin dived by almost a little bit over 4.25% to below 113,000. Rate cuts are typically viewed as a bullish for cryptocurrencies, as investors may shift from low yield bonds and savings to riskier assets, obviously like crypto. Okay. And so what I did was I just kind of Googled, right? And I basically looked at historical examples of rate cuts and effects on crypto. Okay. And so let's go back to 2008. Okay, so Bitcoin was created during this period, partly in response to instability of traditional financial system. If you remember, in 2008, we were kind of just the financial crisis was still going on, but we're slowly kind of getting past it a little bit. But it was a really, really bad time, and people were looking for other ways to preserve their wealth. And that was the reason why Bitcoin was created. Okay. So when we move forward, 2019, they had rate cuts. Okay. And so Bitcoin saw a notable increase in price, raising from approximately 3,700 to over 7,000 during the year as market conditions eased. Okay. Then we had obviously the pandemic, which was, terrible, right? No matter what your views are on it, but we had the pandemic. Okay. And so obviously in March 2020, the Fed cut rates to nearly zero in an emergency move to combat the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. If you remember during this time, a lot of people were buying houses. The market was crazy. It was just a lot of stuff going on during that time. Okay. But let's look at crypto response when the Fed cut their rates to nearly zero. Okay. Initial crash, Bitcoin initially crashed alongside other assets as investors rushed to hold cash, right? Because the stock market was going down, crypto was going down. We weren't sure what this thing was at that time. Okay. But check this out. A massive sustainable, this is right here. This makes me very bullish on crypto. Okay. It says right here, a massive sustainable bull run followed as the Fed's aggressive money printing and stimulus measures. So if you recall what happened in that time, we had money that obviously you had the lower interest rates. The Fed was printing tons of money. We had stimulus checks. All these types of things were happening during that time. I think we got like $1,200 or whatever. Donald Trump signed off on, and then even after he got out of office, Biden I think issued some more money and stuff like that. Plus, you had PPP loans and all this kind of stuff going on, right? Okay. Moving on here, it says that Bitcoin's price nearly soared from $7,000 in March 2020. $7,000 in March 2020 to reach an all new time high of 69,000 by late 2021. Absolutely insane. Going from $7,000 to $69,000 in roughly about 12 or, roughly about a year. Okay. Moving on here. It says that the Fed aggressively raised rates to combat inflation, pausing in 2023. When the pace of rate hikes slowed, crypto price found a bottom and began to rise in anticipation of future rate cuts. All right. So we're seeing a pattern from 2008 to 2024. Every time, for the most part. Now, there's probably maybe some, odd moments throughout the year where maybe rate cuts happen and crypto also tanked, maybe things like war, like the whole situation in Ukraine and stuff like that. There was probably some times, some kind of pivotal times there where there was probably some up and downs, but over time, every time that for the most part, whenever they've cut rates, crypto has gone up. And so right now, since we're on this rate cut frenzy right now, I am buying crypto like crazy. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Are you bullish on crypto if they continue to cut rates? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.